So I was watching a recent episode of GMM, Good Mythical Morning, which of course has the legends themselves, Red and Link, maestros of the tube.
We're fat and stink.
Yeah, and we're the way awful version of that. But it appears that Link thought that bears ate fucking Dookie. And that triggered a memory in my head of when I was young, man. I must have been around age, I don't know, like 12 to 14, somewhere around there. And I went with my grandmother and some acquaintances of her from her church. I went to Rio Doce National Park, which is, as that title would suggest, a fucking national park, aka massive fucking forest of awesomeness, right?
It's noisy though.
It's not.
It doesn't live up to the name, eh?
Doesn't live up to the name. Yeah, Rio Doce is in New Mexico, and it's a beautiful place. But being a national park, there's wildlife in them woods, in them thar woods, right? So, of course, typical of me, I had to take a Mad Dookie.
God damn it!
I had to take a Mad Duke guy, and there was an outhouse. When you were first entering this portion of the park, there's this massive river, which you could kind of like cross if you stepped on certain stones because it was kind of running low. And they all decided to park there and do that for hours. And I was like, what is this? And of course, me being a cherubesque youngin', I was like, I'm not going to fucking cross slippery stones, crack my head, and die in the water.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, somebody did slip, ripped their pants, which would have been a worse fate for me.
Yeah.
Anyway,
terrible.
So I was just kind of sitting there watching these people skip about on stones. And I was like, yep, got to take a Mad Dookie. So I went to across the way from this river. There was a outhouse somebody built, and I was like, man, I hope that outhouse is not just for show, because I'm about to put on a show, So I had to cross the fucking river to get there.
Oh man!
So I did my little pirouettes on stones, and somehow managed to get to the fucking outhouse without dying. And I go in, dude, and I let rip what has to be an onslaught of feasts worthy of Zeus himself. So
is Zeus a feast connoisseur?
I'm assuming as a god he would take Mad Dukes.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's
Olympian Dukes, if you will.
Yeah.
So I'm taking a Duke worthy of the Pantheon and up in that pace, all up in day. And I'm like, all right, I'm done. And I'm like, wait a minute. I had to shit so hard that I didn't even think about the wiping scenario. And believe you me, there was no toilet paper in that there wooden house. So I was like, what the fuck do I do, man? So I peeked my head out, and the people are still out there on the other side of the river, right? And I'm like, hey, is there some fucking toilet paper, right? So they're like, oh shit, So they get me something that is approximate to toilet paper, and by that I mean paper towels that were rough like a motherfucker. They dropped them suckers off, and shortly after that, as I start to wipe, I begin to hear not screams, but something approximating that from yelps. Let's say yelps from the women folk, if you will. Not to suggest that women folk scream at the sight of Ursine terror, but they do.
I feel like anyone would scream at
the fucking bear, man.
Stanky ass bear.
Now I was in this crapper going, why are people screaming all of a sudden? One, two, and more pressing. Wait a minute, now I gotta wash my hands. How? So I'm like, damn.
There's a river, guy.
Yeah, dude, but I don't want to like bend down as I'm skipping, pirouetting even across stones.
I mean, those are two different activities. You don't combine them.
You'd have to keep your balance on them stones, guy. They were slippery, algae-ridden stones.
Oh yeah,
rounded.
Algae is a menace.
That's what I'm saying.
I agree.
Anyway, so I'm in there going, what the fuck? So I do the wipe as quick as I can, right? Which in my case is about 600 years. And I stick my head out, and they're like, get back in. And I'm like, what the fuck? So I get back in, and I'm like, what the hell's going on, man? So I noticed that, I had already noticed, but there's a slit on the top of the fucking outhouse that you can look out, but you have to get on top of the seating area. So I get on that, and I peep my little eyes out, and I'm like, what the hell's going on? And they're like, stay in there, there's a bear. And I'm like, what? So what followed was about I'm gonna say like about 30 minutes of me stuck in a fucking shit house
with your own dude.
with my own fucking scent, getting me high,
God damn.
jenkum, if you will. And I'm like looking out, and I would occasionally see the bear, kind of move in front of the little outhouse area, man, and it did not fucking move. Apparently, they were throwing like food at it across the way. Yeah. Well, not in where they were at.
At the outhouse, they're throwing.
Yeah, so it just stayed around a lot longer. Yeah, they were throwing food at it to try to get it to move away, but it just fucking stayed there. You know what I'm saying? So at one point, in all my wisdom, I decide, fuck this. I'm gonna jet out the outhouse and pirouette my way across the fucking river. What's it gonna do? Follow? Answer: yes.
That's what they do.
He will follow. But fortunately for me, he will also give up halfway across the fucking river and be like, fuck this shit, I'm out.
It's not worth it.
So that's how I got away from bear, man.
You think that homie was there just for the dookie?
I don't know, dude, but he showed up out of the blue apparently as I was duking.
After you duked?
Yeah. Well, it had to be after because I was already in the wipe time.
Yeah, I think Link was onto something. Maybe
apparently
bears
like
might
be dookie. But the point is, I avoided death once that day, but then later that day, or rather this was the next day when we got up in the morning, me and some of the people from the other family that we were with, we went up this kind of like, I guess like a hillside, I guess. I don't really want to describe it as a hill because it was not a definite hill that we could see. Like a slope, I guess. Like a sloping side of something. It wasn't a mountain. It wasn't a hill, but it was some sort of moundish structure. And there was trees spotted throughout, right? And we went up and there was this humongous log of what I can only call petrified wood strewn between two trees. Like it was literally being held by these two trees, right?
Yeah.
And
twigs?
Well, no, they were big, but it was such an old piece of wood that these dudes started kicking it.
Good idea.
Right? As you are wont to do if you're a stupid teenager. So we all really started kicking. I myself included.
Yeah.
And one side of it got dislodged, which this thing was so large that once one side got dislodged, it just started a full-on motion, a rolling motion downhill. And all of a sudden, everybody was running downhill to save their lives. And I'm here, again, a corpulent young child who clearly hasn't run a day in his life.
Unless it's towards food.
Yeah, I'm literally like the last guy down the hill, right? And this fucking... Dude, it was some Indiana Jones shit, guy. Like, I remember in my mind grapes turning back and seeing this fucking log like a gargantuan fucking roller, man, coming at me. The only way I escaped it was as it was rolling down, I passed a tree that was like massive, and I literally just got behind it, and it hit and it swung, and had it probably been going at a faster pace, it would have swung and crushed my fucking legs.
Boat ice.
But it just swung and then eventually just stopped, and I was like, damn, homie.
So I gotta say, why didn't you do the infamous every single reviewer online thing and just run to the side?
Oh my god,
and dodge
man.
it.
That's a thing they said about Prometheus. You can't.
It's
miles long.
This homie couldn't do it with a freaking log. How are you supposed to do it with a thing that's like miles long?
Yes, it's not. It's not this thin, guys. That reviewed Prometheus and said that was a problem. Anyway, those were two times I avoided same circumstance, but those were two times I avoided death in Rio Doso, and you'd think that would be the last time in that location or that vicinity that it would happen. But no, years later, when I was with this chick, we've talked about her. She's an ex-girlfriend of mine. We dubbed her Ronnie here on the channel. There's stories about her. Long story short, stanky pubes.
Yeah.
But when I was with her, she was a white girl. We're Mexican. She was a white girl in a town full of Mexicans. You know what I'm saying? One of those that really sticks out too, not just because she's a white girl, but because she's a mega pale white girl. One, two, and she was like this mad gothic style, fucking white girl. So
basically walking around in black stilts.
Basically, yeah. Also, her family was just hillbillies.
Yeah.
So that was like another thing that made her stick out.
Yeah. Also, the fact that there was always banjos playing with her right hand. Ding, 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 ding.
Hey, you know what? when I first asked her dad, that's right, I had to ask her dad if we would go out, or her stepdad really. There was a shotgun situation.
Damn, homie.
Where it was insinuated that things would happen with that shotgun if something went awry, and I was like, damn, homie. Anyway, they were actually pretty cool. But anyway, the point is,
her mom was a Tetris master.
Dude, her mom was a mad Tetris master. I've never seen anyone play Tetris like that. Anyone. Anyway, I was going out with this chick, right? And I got along pretty famously with her family. You know, her stepdad, her mom, and her two brothers. So I didn't see anything wrong when she asked me to go to her family reunion with her. You know? And I was like, man, are you sure your family's going to be okay with that? I'm just a fucking guy that's going out with you. And they were like, yeah, man, cool, yeah, come with us. So, all right, cool, man. So we go, and guess where it is? Rio Doso. Where they own a large tract of the fucking woods, I guess. They have this massive cabin.
You think they built the freaking outhouse there?
Well, this was a different location.
Ah,
but,
shit.
They're pretty well off, so they own this massive piece of land there. And I was like, oh, that's cool. And I knew one of her other relatives, which was her aunt, which has since unfortunately passed away. And she was super fucking cool. Like, one of the coolest ladies I've met. It's just super nice. It's just one of those people I immediately, you're like, this is a good person. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like, there's nothing you can find wrong with them. And to answer your question, which has been telegraphed to my mind, would I bang? No. 1, because she's dead. 2, because she was mad cool and mad respect. 3, because she was hideous. But no, actually, she was very pretty. But no, I wouldn't bang. But anyway, the point is, we went to this fucking cabin, right? Yeah. And she was one of the first people that I saw there, and was like, oh, cool. She was really accepting and nice of me and whatever. So that's cool. I'm like, this is gonna be a nice day, right? So as we're walking into the cabin, and people are saying hello and whatever, I'm getting introduced to people. Of course, these are like I said, her family's like basically like hill folk, rich hill folk, mind you, but hill folk. And I'm like, man, I feel mad like a fish out of water, right? And after a while, I begin to notice that I'm already kind of uncomfortable in like weird social situations like that where I don't know anyone. But now I'm kind of like, there's a weird like air to this right now. Or is it me or am I tripping? Right? So I go up to, because Ronnie was nowhere to be seen, I go up to her aunt and I'm like, hey, am I insulting anyone by being here? Because, I'm getting like a weird vibe. And she's like, oh, side note, she basically says, you might want to stay away from what was her father, Ronnie's grandfather. And I'm like, okay. She's like, you see him over there? I'm like, yeah. And he's like, yeah, he's in the KKK.
What? Like, wait a minute, what?
I'm like, well, this would have been nice to know.
What the?
And I'm like, okay. As it turns out,
and it's not the cool cuckoo clock collectors club, is it?
There's no cuckoo clocks in sight.
Mommy.
It's definitely the Klan. As it turns out, the majority of the family is very simpatico with old grandpa there.
Damn, homie.
And the reason some of them were actually not tripping balls was because I guess I looked enough, like somewhat passing, I guess.
You do give off a mad white vibe.
Yeah, on top of that,
I think they call you White Mike, I think. Weird, it's not even your name.
Yeah, there goes White Mike. Yeah. I'm like, huh? For both? But yeah, I guess that was that. But definitely for some, I wasn't. And this became incredibly evident when one of them literally approached me and was like, you're not white, are you?
God damn.
And I was like, oh. So what Ronnie ended up doing was going to the grandpa. First of all, I'm not going to say apologize, but kind of like smoothing over that little tension that rose out of that very awkward question. And she went up to the grandfather figure and I guess explained the situation, and he kind of gave like this general like it's okay, but KK? Boy howdy, yeah, he was like it's okay, KK, and I was like, but after that moment, as you could imagine, it was like like a moment pregnant with utter discomfort
Horror.
from there to the moment we left, which unfortunately was hours later.
Damn, homie.
But nobody, from that point forward, nobody really talked to me except for her aunt, the super cool one, and her, and of course her parents every now and then. But I was like mad, not gonna eat anything, or, nothing. I was just like, ooh. I went outside and then just kind of hung out on the porch. Mad deers out there in the snow, and I was like, I'm gonna be dead in the snow by like tomorrow.
Yeah.
Oddly enough, I got invited. I'm sorry, not invited. I got taken to a party which was at her aunt's house. Again, the cool one. And then the grandpa got there. This was later. And I was like, oh no, the fucking grandpa. And he was not pleased that I was there.
Yeah.
And he made this big old stink. And the aunt got pissed at him, which was pretty cool of her. Like she was like, this is my house. And, when you're here, this is okay. You know what I'm saying? Which was super cool of her. But that dude, and I wasn't even like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, you weren't like, hey, sick, ¿cómo estás?
I couldn't.
You do that when you're
normal.
I do that
constantly. I'm like leaning like a
cholo.
You're
like, oh yeah.
It was just weird, guy. You know what I'm saying? It was a weird situation to be in. I can't explain it other than feeling extremely paranoid 24/7, even though 24 hours didn't pass.
24 hours passed 7 times.
I think the reason there wasn't a bigger commotion was because Ronnie and her mom were... well, let me put it this way. The grandfather was the father of Ronnie's stepfather. So Ronnie wasn't blood related to them. If she would have been, I think there would have been some hella problems. But I think the mere fact that Ronnie was just strictly her mother's daughter and not blood related to Grandpa KK over there, I guess that was like, whatever. Fuck it. She's spoiled goods anyway or whatever the fuck, right? But that was a thing that they dragged me into. Like, you could have told me this. I would have stayed home.
Yeah.
Gladly.
It's not great.
It's not good.
That's not a cool clan you got there.
It's the worst clan, you might say.
Yeah.
But that was also in Ruidoso. I survived that, so that's pretty cool. They say...
so bears,
feces,
logs,
nature itself, and the clan. Yeah, man. That was the thing. Anyway, the cool aunt did pass away. Mad cancer guy.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. It was unfortunate. Now that family's like straight up KKK. And I do mean that because Ronnie's mom ended up separating from the...
Oh.
Yeah, so...
For real?
I mean, the stepdad won that way.
She couldn't make things fit?
That's my response to that.
That was pretty good.
Yeah, so... that was a fam. Or I guess is a fam that lives here locally in the midst of tons of Mexicans.
What is that? Why
KKK.
would you pick this place to live at where there's like mad Mexicans?
I don't know.
Like 99% Mexican, right?
Yeah. And they have businesses here and shit like that.
Without us, you'd have nothing.
Yeah. Well, then again, you could say they're exploiting. Like, hell yeah, we're taking their money. I don't know. The point is...
It's a weird dynamic.
It's a weird dynamic. So that's a fucking thing that happened.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're out.